Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1760B, and today's date is January 8th, 2019, and the title of the episode is Deep State Distraction Incoming, Patriots Ready and Waiting. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, before I get started, I just want to let everyone know I uploaded 2 interviews on the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel. First one is with Keith Neumeyer. The second one is with Lior Gantz. So all you need to do is go over to YouTube and you can type in X22 Report Spotlight. It will bring you to those interviews. It's the first 2 that you'll see on the page. I also want to give a shout out to all the Anons and for all their research. I am very grateful. Thank you for doing such hard work. It's just not me. I'm just a voice in the darkness. All these other people are doing an incredible job, and everyone is researching and looking into many, many different things. And I just want to say thank you once again to everyone that takes the time to do this research, because it's very, very intensive, and you really need to look into it. And sometimes we get it right, sometimes we get it wrong, but we continue on. Now, we know the deep state, they're doing whatever they possibly can right now to get Trump out of office. They know what's coming. And a little bit later in this report, I want to talk about Ruth Bader Ginsburg and the strange things that are happening right now. And we might see the deep state use this as a distraction. And we'll be talking about that in just a minute. But let's start off with Jim Jordan, Doug Collins, and Mark Meadows. They wrote a letter to John Huber. And we know that John Huber is doing a lot of investigations. A lot of people think he's doing absolutely nothing. And part of the letter, and this is page 2, it says, although the Attorney General did not appoint a special counsel, he recognized the importance of committee's inquiry and appointed you to review these matters. Your investigation has been ongoing for over 9 months. During the course of our extensive investigation, we have interviewed more than a dozen current and former Department of Justice and FBI personnel. And we're surprised to hear none of these potentially informative witnesses testified to speaking with you. Further, last month, then Chairman Mark Meadows invited you to testify as a witness at the Subcommittee on Government Operations hearings oversight of nonprofit organizations, a case study on the Clinton Foundation. We were disappointed to learn from the department you were not enthusiastic about testifying when declining the invitation. Now, this is a letter going to John Huber. And a lot of people think, well, John Huber's doing absolutely nothing. We need to go back to Q's post. This is post 2604. And Annan put down, so Huber is a head fake? If so, brilliant, Q. Now, this was back in December 12, 2018. This is what Q wrote. False. Huber will bring severe pain to D.C. Sessions forced release of name. This is the kill brackets, all caps, bold. Huber to House created another variable. Plans had to be changed. Use logic. Why would we tell you the plan if in doing so also alerts those who we are actively engaged in hunting? You are witnessing firsthand the demise of those in power, the old guard. This is in brackets, all bold caps. Those who push simply have no grasp of reality. Those who push simply do not understand warfare tactics. Emotions cloud judgment. Emotions cloud logic. You have more than you know. Securing the Senate meant everything. Securing the Supreme Court meant everything. Avoided Z. We know what Z is. That's chaos. And that is the military coming in and overthrowing whoever was president at the time. We the people, enough is enough, together we win. Do you think all these attacks on Q is simply for a person on the internet who they label as a conspiracy? Think for yourself, trust yourself, research for yourself, be in control of yourself. Never let someone else drive you. Those who try to drive you are not your friend. Let's go to post 2603. Now, this includes post 2601. But I'm going to read the bottom part of 2603. What if there's another prosecutor outside of D.C. assigned by Sessions with the same mandate authority? One for the history books. Not long now. I believe Huber was there, and because Huber was brought out into the limelight here, the spotlight I should say, they brought in someone else just in case. And this other person is doing all the work. Do I think Huber is going to bring the House down, bring down D.C.? They're going to feel pain, yes, because I think this other individual will work with Huber at the time, and Huber will be the lead. Post 2211. And this is back in September 19, 2018. There's other things here, but I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom of this post. But Huber has not directly interviewed several witnesses, therefore the appointment of Huber by Sessions, and therefore the IG, is not genuine. But Sessions and Huber are following standard Department of Justice open, ongoing investigation policy by not discussing making public, so therefore nothing must be happening. Fire Sessions. But Huber ability to prosecute and impanel a grand jury outside of D.C., 90% plus voted Hillary Clinton, who already began the investigations late last year with a signed team of 470 investigators, plus the Attorney General, plus legal jurisdiction across all 50 states, is not a special counsel. So, therefore, nothing's being done. But POTUS is attacking Sessions via Twitter, so therefore he's not working on behalf of the people's interest. D's left love trust Sessions. But interestingly, if nothing is being done behind the scenes, why are so many FBI Department of Justice senior officials being fired and or removed from their respective positions of power? Who is the Attorney General? Who must sign off on each removal? Department of Justice in charge of FBI. But interestingly, if nothing is being done behind the scenes, why are there 50,000 plus sealed indictments across the U.S.? What percentage equals U.S. versus X? Coincidence versus Huber start. But interestingly, if nothing is being done behind the scenes, why are many powerful CEOs, members of Congress, Senate resigning? Coincidence? Example, pre-POTUS, did the Speaker of the House indicate wanting to leave politics? No. And remember, he was caught peddling the dossier. But interestingly, if nothing is being done behind the scenes, why are human trafficking arrests surging? Nothing to see here. Q. Just because we don't see it, just because Jim Jordan, Mark Meadows are asking Huber for information, doesn't mean just because Huber is not handing it over that nothing's being done. It doesn't mean that Huber is doing nothing. Remember, behind Huber, there's somebody else. I believe they're doing all the legwork. They're doing everything else. And they see Huber doing nothing. They had to change their plan. Just because you have a plan doesn't mean you don't have a contingency plan. Now, what's very interesting, and it seems like the deep state is catching on with Mueller, because we know that Nancy Pelosi hired a separate attorney. Schiff is out there saying he doesn't think Mueller is going to go far enough, where Mueller is not going to investigate into Trump's businesses. Now, remember, we have Whitaker, who now controls Mueller. Mueller, well, he was reeled in, and he only can go after Russian collusion. Plus, I do believe he's working to save himself, according to Q. The Democrats right now, they're saying that Mueller, his final report, it might turn out to be absolutely nothing. And they're worried about this because I don't think they have the control over Mueller. And they're starting to realize this. This is why we see Nadler, Schiff, and the rest, they're starting their own investigations. They'll be hiring other attorneys. Nancy Pelosi hired another attorney because they're getting nervous and afraid. They're panicking. They're trying to find something, anything. And if you notice, it has nothing to do with Russian collusion anymore. Now, very interestingly, Hillary Clinton tweeted out something very interesting. She tweeted, "Our democracy is broken. House Democrats' first bill, H.R. 1, would help fix it." Really? Call your representative now and ask them to support automatic voter registration. Yes, you heard this right. Support automatic voter registration, restoring the Voter Rights Act, and lessening the influence of big money in politics. Now, do you really think they want to lessen the influence of big money in politics? No, because they know how to get around all of this. Yes, this bill, they might be going after the high-level people where, company X gives $10,000 and expects something in return. They don't care about that. They'll go after those people. What about the money that's flowing in through foundations? What about foreign money that's coming in through foundations? That's where it really is. But this bill has nothing to do with that. This bill really has to do with voter registration. Automatically registering people online, making it easier to what? That's right, to manipulate. That's what this is all about. They're pushing this, and they're afraid, they're panicking, they're nervous, because they need this, because what's coming up? The 2020 election. How do they win? By cheating. And you can see by this tweet, they need this done now. Because what is Trump, the Patriots, holding? All the voter fraud information that they collected in the last midterms. They're holding on to it, waiting to produce it at the right moment. Timing is everything. Now, the White House is already planning with the Army to build a wall. The White House has declared for the first time that the U.S. Army will be the main contractor building the southern wall. If the president declares a national emergency, and we know that he's broadcasting tonight, and it doesn't mean that he's going to declare a national emergency tonight. Most likely he will not. I think he's using this as leverage. The Army Corps of Engineers, they're ready to kick into high gear. They're already handing out contracts that would speed up a lot. Now, this doesn't mean that Trump will not declare a national emergency, but we'll see what happens. I'm thinking that he's going to hold out a little while longer. The Corps began soliciting bids in mid-2017 for companies to produce a wide range of security at the border, including a wall. And we can see that they're prepared and ready to do this. Now, what's very interesting is Sagar and Jetty of the Daily Caller tweeted out the following. President Obama declared 12 national emergencies per Brennan Center for Justice, ranging from a national emergency with respect to the 2009 H1N1 influenza pandemic to blocking property from persons in countries in conflict with the U.S. And he gave a list of each time he did this. October 23rd, 2009, declaration of national emergency with respect to the 2009 H1N1 influenza pandemic. April 12th, 2010, blocking property of certain persons contributing to the conflict in Somalia. February 25th, 2011, blocking property from prohibiting certain transactions related to Libya. July 24th, 2011, blocking property of transnational criminal organizations. May 16th, 2012, blocking property of persons threatening the peace, security, and stability of Yemen. June 25th, 2012, blocking property of the government of the Russian Federation relating to the disposition of highly enriched uranium extracted from nuclear weapons. Very interesting in that one. So we can see that national emergencies were called or declared by other presidents, one being Obama. If you go back in time, you can see the other ones by other presidents. Now, let's get down to the real facts about the border wall, and this is coming from Border Facts. Fact 1. In 4 customs and border protection sectors where physical barriers have been expanded, El Paso, Yuma, Tucson, and San Diego, illegal traffic has dropped by at least 90%. Fact 2. In fiscal year 2018, U.S. border seized or helped seize 282,000 pounds of cocaine, 248,000 pounds of meth, 6,500 pounds of heroin, and 2,400 pounds of fentanyl. Fact 3. In 2018, over 17,000 adults arrested at the border had prior criminal records. This included over 6,000 gang members. A major number of those members were from MS-13. Fact number 4. The Democrats would rather risk the safety of hardworking Americans than work with President Trump to secure our nation's borders. But in 2013, all 54 Senate Democrats, including Chuck Schumer, voted to pass legislation that provided $46 billion to build a physical barrier on the border. Fact number 5. Nancy Pelosi and her hyper-liberal congressional colleagues just passed a bill to give $54 billion to foreign governments, but Democrats won't allow just $5 billion to secure our borders and protect American citizens. Fact number 6. America's weak asylum laws allow illegal immigrants with baseless claims to come and stay in the United States while awaiting legal proceedings. Since 2010, these claims have increased by 1,700%. Fact number 7. The abuse of our weak asylum laws has rapidly increased and backlog of our immigration courts. In fiscal year 2018, these courts had a backlog of more than 786,000 pending cases. Now, what's interesting is that this last bill that Nancy Pelosi is pushing has $0 for the border wall. But if we go to other countries, let's say Jordan, in 2018 in the omnibus, it provides enough funds to build a 33-mile fence on the Texas border. But it also provides $500 million to help Jordan build a wall and defense line against the Islamic State. So across 287-mile border with Iraq and Syria, there is a fence with barbed wire, which is a form of a wall. I mean, Trump says we want to build a slotted wall or a slotted fence. Same thing happened out there. The omnibus budget says on page 394, Section 9011, up to $500 million of funds appropriated by this act for the Defense Security Cooperation Agency in operation and maintenance defense-wide may be used to provide assistance to the government of Jordan to support the armed forces of Jordan and to enhance security along its border. On page 375, the omnibus says, for the counter-Islamic State of Iraq and Syria Train and Equip Fund, $1.7 billion to remain available until September 30th, 2019. That these funds may be used in such amounts as the Secretary of Defense may determine to enhance the border security of nations adjacent to conflict areas including Jordan, Lebanon, Egypt, Tunisia, resulting from actions of the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. Now, were they really building these walls to protect themselves from the Islamic State? No. They didn't create these walls to protect themselves. Remember, they were controlling Al-Qaeda, Islamic State. They're the paid mercenary army of the deep state. What were they protecting? They were protecting the training grounds. And where were they training all these individuals? Because they were afraid that Syria and Iran and Russia would come over the border and hit Jordan and hit the training camps. That's what they were really afraid of. So you can see right now they have no problem building walls in other countries and spending the money out there, but they have a problem doing it here in the United States. One of the contractors out there was Raytheon, and they put out a press release in 2015. Our team has delivered on the model supporting U.S. government DTRA border security contracts across the world in Southeast Asia, Eastern Europe, and in Jordan. In total, the systems we have installed protect 4,500 miles of borders. I thought walls didn't work. I guess they do in certain areas, but do not just here in the United States. You can see already how they talk out of both sides of their mouth. And this is why Trump is continually bringing up that, listen, you wanted a wall, you wanted a border security, you wanted immigration, and now you don't. Were you lying then, or are you lying now? Trump signed the Forever GI Bill Housing Payment Fulfillment Act, and he signed it into law. Now, what this does, this law, this Forever GI Bill Housing Payment Fulfillment Act, allows veterans to be reimbursed for missed or underpaid Forever GI Bill housing benefits. The legislation addresses the VA's failure to fully comply with the reimbursement rates set by the Forever GI Bill. The improper payment resulted from IT systems that had not been properly updated and the lack of internal processes to get the VA the necessary information about payment rates. Now, for all these individuals that served in our military, these individuals, they should have almost everything paid for. They should have the best health care. They should have almost everything paid for. They put their lives on the line when they go into different countries defending the United States. It doesn't matter if it was fake or phony. They thought, and their job is to go out there and protect the United States. Think about the Senate and the House of Representatives. They have the best health care imaginable. Don't you think our armed forces should have the best health care? They should have the best of everything for putting their lives on the line. I mean, they're coming back with no leg, no arm, no eye. But the people who are sitting behind a desk in government, they get the best of the best. I mean, we need to switch everything around here. Now, the Russian lawyer that was involved with Don Jr. in Trump Tower, which we know was a complete and utter setup by the deep state, she has now been indicted in a 19-page unsealed indictment. Why? Well, she's accused of obstructing justice by intentionally trying to stop a Justice Department civil fraud probe that involved a Russian businessman and his investment firm who she was representing. This case has no ties to the Trump Tower meeting. The allegations laid out in the indictment nevertheless paint a portrait of an individual with close ties to the Russian government. Prosecutors said the U.S. government had asked the Russian government to assist in the investigation, but it refused. U.S. prosecutors say that she lied about having access to versions of the Russian government's response in submission to the court, but that she helped draft and edit the response. In truth and in fact, Natalia concealed from the court and a member of the defense team in the Prevezon action and had participated in drafting those supposed independent investigative findings in secret cooperation with a senior Russian prosecutor. And the mainstream media is trying to bring this in that it has to do with the Trumps and it has to do with something in the Trump Tower. Now, Julie Kelly tweeted out the following: more dishonest spin. The indictment repeatedly refers to Natalia as part of the Prevezon action defendants, comprised of several different U.S.-based law firms. This includes Baker Hostetler, which employed both Natalia and Glenn Simpson. Nothing to do with Don Jr. And once again, they're trying to spin this all around here. We see out in China, the U.S. delegation is there in China. We also see that Xi Jinping invited Kim Jong-un at the same time. Now, is he using Kim Jong-un as leverage with this deal? We'll have to wait and see how this all turns out. We see Egypt is urging Syria to rejoin the Arab League right now. As we know, the Islamic State is almost beaten in Syria. There are just small pockets here and there. Syria is rebuilding with the help of China and Russia and other countries. And we see right now, Syria is going to be integrated into the Arab League and many other organizations. Remember, Assad is the elected leader of a sovereign country. The deep state is completely pushed out of this area. I know the mainstream media is out there. They're trying to say that, no, they're not, the troops aren't leaving, Bolton is in control. No, it's actually the opposite. Bolton is out there keeping everyone busy. This is exactly what the Patriots want. They want him talking up a storm, just like he talked about the troops never leaving until Iran leaves Syria. Did that happen? No. He's the front man to keep everyone busy, and they're listening to him while they do the real work behind the scenes. But Trump tweeted out something very interesting. He said, endless wars, especially those which are fought out of judgment mistakes that were made many years ago, and those where we are getting little financial or military help from the rich countries that so greatly benefit from what we are doing, will eventually come to a glorious end. Basically saying that all these wars that were completely made up and all these countries that are in there who are benefiting from this, it's all coming to an end right now. The Rothschild wars, the central bank wars, the deep state wars, they are coming to an end. Now, I want to go back to Q's post. This is 2657. And this talked about Snowden. It talked about CIA surveillance on Congress, on the press, on the Senate. And down below it said, hello, and this is in kill brackets AS. And originally I thought this was Adam Schiff, but a lot of Annans have been out there saying this is not Adam Schiff. Q is saying hello to Abigail Spanberger. So Abigail Spanberger, AS, well, who is she? Well, she's an American federal law enforcement agent, former CIA operations officer, and a member of the U.S. House of Representatives from Virginia's 7th Congressional District. The district includes several suburban and rural areas west of Richmond. On June 12, 2018, she secured the Democratic nomination to challenge incumbent Representative Dave Bratt, and then won the general election by a narrow margin on November 6th. And Q under this wrote, once an agent, always an agent. And Q asked us how many are in Congress now that used to be CIA or intelligence or anything like that. And we can see there's a lot in there. They have infiltrated government. That's the whole purpose of this. Now it looks like Ginsburg, she's going to miss the second day of arguments. Now, let's go back to Trump's tweet. This is back December 22nd, 2018. And you'll see why I'm going back to December 22nd. Trump said back then, wishing Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg a full and speedy recovery. This is when she got sick. She went in for an operation to remove those cancerous nodules. Now that she missed the 2 days of arguments, we have not heard Trump wish Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg a speedy recovery. That's very interesting right there. So on December 22nd, Trump acknowledged that she was sick, that there was something wrong. Today, he didn't. So let's go to post 2667. And this is Ginsburg missing Supreme Court arguments for the first time. And Annan put this up. Below this said, morning Q. And Q said, first time in more than 25 years. Now, this is the second time in more than 25 years that she missed arguments. And then Q said, morning Patriots. I want to go back to post 1148. And I want to read down below. There's other things here. And this is April 15, 2018. Q says the following. RBG big problems. Let me read what's above this. Side-by-side graphics are important. To be clear, Loretta Lynch was promised the Supreme Court position of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Coordinated, planned. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, big problems. Do you think they realized and they knew back then that she was sick and her time was almost up? Maybe she was being kept alive? I mean, Q did tell us about, experimental drugs, other type of electronic gizmos that are placed in the brain to make people do certain things. Let me move on to post 1607. And Annan put up a letter, and this is a letter from Justice Kennedy when he resigned. Below this, it says, his choice. Remember, Kennedy was the swing vote. No more. Locked and loaded. Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Next. Q. So far, during her absence this week, Trump has said nothing. Q has let us know that she missed arguments for the first time in 25 years. Now she missed it 2 times in 25 years. And Trump has not wished her a speedy recovery? Well, let's think about this for a second. Is she already dead? And are they keeping her on ice for a special occasion just like Bush? Because Bush was dead for quite a while. And if we go back to the post of 2653, and this is the history of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and she was appointed by Bill Clinton. Down below, it says, who is managing her care? Who is really managing her care? Maybe nobody is managing her care because she's already dead. The clock is ticking. Panic in D.C. I think the deep state right now is keeping her on ice until they need a distraction, just like Bush. Now, I could be completely wrong, but it's very interesting to me that this is the first time in 25 years, and Trump didn't tweet out anything. And Hillary Clinton tweeted out that she's working on the Roe v. Wade law with Cuomo in a panic. So what does this tell you? This tells us that the deep state might be getting ready to use an event to distract from what's coming. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.